At the beginning of 2013, we had plans. We'd released our first EP in December and were working on our second, Tusk. We planned to record an album in Scotland and then move to Germany. Chris was changing his career and I was going to go freelance. We'd already begun downsizing, selling books, CDs and unused instruments. We were working on music and our future around our day jobs. Before I go any further, I have to introduce you to Boy. We first met Boy when we moved into a downstairs flat together in Brighton. Boy used to visit us every day, even sleeping on our bed and waking us up with purrs and kneading in the morning. We called him Boy because we didn't know who he belonged to, or what his real name was. He was the first Norwegian forest cat we'd ever met. He played fetch and he could leap and twist as high as we were tall. He loved cheese. He didn't like the Eagles, but seemed to enjoy electronic music. He was a huge part of our lives and one that we were dreading saying goodbye to. It snowed a lot that winter. One day I came home and Chris had a demo for a song called Passing Places. He said he'd been watching Boy in the snow. It was beautiful. I wrote down the lyrics he had so far and started working on writing the rest. At the time, I was in the practice of writing daily haikus to keep sharp, and I brought images from dreams while writing on buses and trains. This was very early on in my songwriting experience, and I really struggled to tease out the right words. Chris hadn't said what it was about, but I could sense what it meant to me very clearly. Everything was changing. We were starting a brave new chapter in our lives, and we were saying goodbye to Boy. The vocals needed to be whispered at the beginning. This was a new challenge for me, as whispered vocals require very fine breath control. I was just starting to get into the physical practice of training my voice, but I really had very little idea of how to interface with it. I even noted during an exercise in February that I had felt abdominal support for the first time. It was a long journey from feeling that support to being able to control it, a journey I'm still on, really. This made recording vocals difficult, and we stalled on the song for a while, until suddenly, one productive Saturday in March after gig practice, we re-recorded National Grid and Passing Places, and got both. I wanted the beginning of the vocals to have backwards reverb, because it felt like an icy, wintry sound. This proved impossible in the DAW we were using at the time, so Chris got out the trusty Porter Studio to record the backwards reverb effect. We had decided to release a video for every song on the Tusk EP. Chris made the first rough edit of desert, sky and snow. I took over, adding all the imagery I could find in archival footage that just felt right. The spinning top became a motif and an animation within the album art. There are lots of cats. It all gives a sense of moving forward without being able to stop, without looking back, travelling inevitably into the future, with no time to mourn what might have been lost on the way, but somehow carrying it with you. In April that year we released Tusk, and our plans abruptly changed again. I was offered a pay rise at work. We still had to move, but we decided to stay in Brighton with steady jobs to support us in making our music. On our penultimate day in the flat, we left Boy in the house with the window open so he could leave any time. The next day when we came back to finish our final clean-up, he was waiting there for us. Chris laid down on the floor and Boy sat on him, as though preventing him from leaving. We shared a final meal with Boy, gave him some cheese, and said goodbye. We told the new renters all about Boy, and they, a young couple, were over the moon to meet him as they'd wanted a cat. They called him Rascal. We found out years later when they moved that they discovered Boy's real owner. Boy was a girl called Precious. She lived with very young children, which might explain why she preferred to hang out with us. But I think it was more than that. We were family. Boy was the first furry member of Boo. We've never seen her since, but we hope she's happy somewhere, smiling at the bees and leaping for her toys the way she used to.